Chances are you probably feel tight somewhere. Maybe it's your hamstrings, your shoulders, or your neck. Do you fix it by stretching it, foam rolling with reckless abandon, or do you turn your massage gun up to jackhammer status? See, here's the truth. Tightness doesn't always mean that the muscle is short. For example, if I look at this person's toe touch here, they might complain of hamstring tightness, but to gain any more length, we'd have to cut out the floor. You can feel the same thing right now. If you kick your arm back behind you, you might feel tightness in your bicep. Should you stretch it? It's at end range. What you're sensing is the muscle contracting to prevent you from going any further. If you keep stretching muscles that are already in a more lengthened position, you might actually make the problem worse. So what you really need to do is figure out why that tightness is there in the first place and apply a fix for that specific problem. Here's what to do instead. If any muscle is tight, the first thing you need to do is check your range of motion and compare it to what the average human body can do. This will let you know if you have a tendency toward a shorter or longer muscle position. Here are a few simple tests that you can look at to get a pulse check on the entire body. The first test, which is relevant for hamstring or back tension, is the toe touch. Stand with your feet hip width apart and straighten the knees, but don't lock them out. Bend forward and touch your toes. If you can touch the toes easily or palm the floor, you're in a more long position. If you can't touch your toes or you have to bend your knees, you're in a more short position. Well, then look at the squat. That's related to hips, quads, hip flexors, really a lot of lower body stuff, even the calves. Again, stand with your feet hip width apart, toes pointing forward. Squat down. If it looks like you're about to take a crap in the woods, you're in a more long position. If you're really limited in the squat, you're in a more short position. Another lower body test is the heel to butt test. This is also relevant for the quads and the hip flexors. Slide your knee toward your rear. If you can touch your rear easily, you're in a more long position. If it's really limited, you're in a more shortened position. We'll move on to the upper body. First, we're going to look at the Apley's scratch test. This is a measure that looks at internal rotation in the upper body. So this is going to influence muscles on the front side of the body, as well as some of your rotator cuff muscles. Look straight ahead. I'm telling you, look straight ahead. Everyone still looks down. Look straight ahead. Try to touch your hand to your opposite shoulder blade. So the hand that goes underneath, that should touch the bottom of the opposite shoulder blade. The arm that goes over the top, Stallone style, how you doing? That should touch the top of the opposite shoulder blade. If you can give yourself a handshake behind your back, you're in a more long position. If you can't touch your shoulder blades or your arms are way far away from one another, you more hella stiff. You're in a short position. Another upper body test, which is related to the lat muscles and the pecs, is the back to wall flexion. Lean up against the wall and try to touch your arm to the wall. If you can easily touch it and you don't arch your back, you're in a more long position. If you can't get your arm that high up, or you have to arch your back to get into position, you're in a more short position. Next, we'll look at the trunk. This is related to tension in all of the tissues on your back and your front. Spinal. Have a seat and place your hands on your cheeks. This is going to lock your head and your trunk into position because a lot of people can cheat by moving the neck too far. Turn your body without shifting your hips. Normal is about 45 degrees. If you're well beyond that, you're in a more long position. If you're nowhere near that, you're in a more shortened position. Our key movement for checking tension within the neck is neck rotation. Touch your teeth together without clenching. Turn your head as far as you can without turning your trunk. Normal is to have the chin in line with the collarbone. If you go well beyond that, you're in a more long position. If you're really limited, then you're in a more short position. Now, depending on your findings, you'll feel that tightness for one of two reasons. If your test was limited, it's because the muscle is contracting in a more shortened position. This reduces local circulation, which can contribute to the perception of tightness. The fix is to reduce that muscle activity so you're able to move through a greater range. If your test was full or a crazy amount, but you still feel tight, your muscle is still contracting, just in a more lengthened position. This is protective muscle tension to prevent you from going past ranges the joint should have. The fix here is to actually work on contraction-based activities to learn to get into a more short position. Now, if you want to address that tightness, you need to look at where you're at currently and apply a 3-step framework. First, reduce tension based on position, meaning if it's long, go short. If it's short, go long. 2, Use the range. That means working in motions or positions that you now have access to. And 3, strengthen. This means maintaining the range you just got while having a load that challenges the hell out of you. Here's how you can do that for each of the tests we practiced. First, reducing muscle tension. For longs, think about getting the upper hamstring to contract by driving hip extension. If short, work more on hinging exercises. I like box squat activities and split RDL variations for this, but at a lower intensity. Once you have access to the motion you lack, progressing the hinging difficulty is key. You can do this by different single leg or stagger stance hinge variations. The big key with this is making sure that you don't arch, which longs tend to do, or round excessively, which shorts tend to do. Now, to strengthen this range, the best exercise to really seal in the gains is a split squat, as this biases rotation in the exact area that tends to be restricted in these folks. You must make sure that you stay heavy and mostly load the lead leg as you go up and down. Now, if your squat was the problem, you should focus mostly on addressing the upper part of the hips. To reduce tension, if you're more the long type, you want to work on mid-range squat holds. These can be absolute money as it improves the rotations in the middle range that the flexible folks tend to lack. If you're more the short king or queen, you'll want to work on activities that help shift your body weight backward to improve external rotation. This roll variation here is great for this, as would anything where you hold the leg in external rotation. To use this new range, you want to work on staying as vertical as possible during front-loaded squats. If you're new to this, I like doing this movement with a foam roller against the wall, as it constricts you to staying upright. Eventually, you'll want to progress to a Zercher squat, as this is the most upright of loaded squats. To build strength in this position, the best thing to do is to work towards full range squats. Stay heel heavy and make sure the quads get cooked. Let's next talk about heel to butt. If your quads or hip flexors are tight, heel to butt is an important test for you. Let's first talk about reducing tension. If long, you want to work the quads to help drive knee extension. Holding high depth wall squats or even single leg variations can be great for this. If short, you might need to work on improving the knee's ability to rotate. These mechanics are great for getting that last bit of knee flexion. I like either using my hands or a mobility stick like this to internally rotate the tibia. That's the key to getting the knee to bend fully. To use the range, you'll want to learn how to control deeper ranges of knee flexion or bending, as well as hip extension. Lunge variations off a box can work great, as you generally push the knee a bit further towards full bend, and it's great for maintaining length in the hip flexors. To build strength, progress to step-up variations where you drive the knee up toward the ceiling without arching or rounding your back. For athletes, both of these measures look at how the trunk and rib cage can allow you to produce internal rotation. So addressing this area, the foundation of your shoulder, will be key. First, reducing tension. If long, you'll actually need to open the front and back of the body. These people tend to slouch more, which is what allows them to produce so much internal rotation. They're essentially using their trunk to get into position. Moves where you're on your stomach or bending backward can be great for this. If short, you'll want to open up the lower part of the trunk, which can reduce internal rotation if it's tight. Reaching the arms at 90 to 120 degrees of shoulder flexion can be great for this, as can most activities where you're working the abs and getting the lower back to flatten into the ground without forcing. To use the range, you need to work on activities that bias internal rotation. Quadruped is a great position to do so. Just make sure you don't crunch, which longs tend to do, or arch, which shorts tend to do. I like doing single arm lifts or progressing to crawls, whether forward or backward. Backward, less IR demands. Forward, more IR demands. For strength, most pressing variations that are horizontal or on minor inclines can work great here. The key is to make sure that you don't arch or crunch. Next, back to wall flexion. This test is related more to external rotation in the upper body. To reduce tension, for the longs, you need to drive the opposite direction, internal rotation. If you weight bear through the upper body, that can be a major key. I love quadruped variations for this, but you have to watch because you'll extend the elbows a ton. An easy fix for this is to have the hands ahead of the shoulders, creating more shoulder flexion. If short, you'll need to work on cleaning up your external rotation in the higher positions. The key is making sure you don't arch as you're going overhead. One of my favorite ways is by using a Swiss ball or some sort of ab exercise that's more on the stability side as you're going overhead. To use the range, hanging without cheating is probably one of the best things for this. Just make sure you don't arch as you do it. Then, to progress that, you'll want to go with overhead-based strengthening moves, especially single arm variations. One of my favorite is pressing overhead and half kneeling, again, controlling the arch. If you open the hand at the top, that'll help improve external rotation even further and allow you to go overhead more easily. Let's now talk about trunk rotation. First, reducing tension. If you're on the long side, you're likely producing most of the motion from your rotation at only a few segments. I like working on driving rotation while moving more like one piece. Doing this with a Swiss ball in the beginning and progressing to a loaded medicine ball variation can be great here. If short, you need to learn how to rotate without producing so much tension. I like doing very slow and controlled rolls for this. Think about moving one piece of your body at a time. Once you've gotten some mobility back, you'll want to use it. My favorite way to do this is with cable pressing, either going forward or high to low. Just make sure that you allow your body to rotate as you press. Then, to build strength, medicine ball throws are the best way to learn how to use that motion, especially at high speed. The key with this is keeping the ball light and moving fast. I like starting with fake throws and holding positions first. Then I'll work toward full-blown throws. Lastly, my favorite, neck rotation. If long, usually there's a lot of motion in the upper part, but the lower is often quite stiff. Doing moves that open up the upper back, which targets the lower part of the cervical spine, can be great. One of the best ways to do this is by doing a low reach and quietly breathing. You can add comfortable neck rotations as able. Just make sure you're not forcing a stretch. If short, you want to set your neck up to get into a position that allows for more rotation. A big key with that is restoring the normal curve in your neck called cervical lordosis. Gentle breathing on your back with a small towel roll underneath the middle of your neck can be helpful for that. You can progress to lying on your stomach and driving gentle turns without kicking in the neck muscles too much. Once your neck motion is chillax, I like working with rotating my neck while under load. A great way to do this is with chops and lifts, keeping your eyes on the cable as you move back and forth. To strengthen, medicine ball throws are actually great for this, but the key is to move the trunk and neck in opposite direction. This creates head rotation from the bottom up. If you look straight on and keep your head still, you're rotating your head, but it's done from the bottom up. Now, if you want a complete body routine that'll prep you for whatever exercise endeavors you're chasing, I would check out this video right here. It's the best mobility routine that I've come up with, period.